Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the I'll Try That podcast. We are very excited to be sat with Nathan Vickers, head brewer of the Pilot Brewery at Stewart Brewing. Hello Nathan, how are you?
Hi there, I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing
very
really well.
Excellent.
Really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Even better since we popped open some of these Project 7 beers and started tucking into them.
So what's everyone drinking at the moment?
I was going to say, I'm on the White Affogato, the coffee milk stout, which is kicking in at 6%, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it from my experience right now.
Tis the season, so I'm on the Oktoberfest Festbier Lager. I think we're now, it is end of September, right? We're into Oktoberfest, so I can go for anything else basically. So this is beautiful, and it's a little bit more punchy than I was expecting from Fest beer, but already going down smoothly.
And to cover it all off, I had my Oktoberfest and the Voss Kveik IPA yesterday, and I'm looking forward to getting home tonight and trying the White Affogato.
Fantastic. So we've got the entire range more or less on show. I've got on Oktoberfest as well. For me, it's just that kind of time of year when, at least up here, things start to get a bit wetter, a little bit cooler but not quite cold, and a little bit of strong fest beer just really is what I crave.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I was starting to tuck into the Affogato. Is I'm kind of sticking to something a little bit more heavier now. Now it's getting a little bit colder. I went for the first time in a long time. I went out in jeans today, so I kind of knew everything's getting a bit colder. So it's definitely time for something a bit heavier and a little and that's kind of my gauge. As soon as the jeans come on, I'm gonna start drinking like the heavier, darker beers.
So Nathan, if it wasn't any doubt before, Richie's hard as nails. We just felt we needed to get that in early on in the podcast.
But talking about I think the White Affogato is, from what you've been saying, Rich, is really kind of taken you by surprise in that you were expecting something a lot heavier, a lot more, a stout basically through and through, whereas actually this is something quite different.
Well, yeah, that's it. As you guys know and listeners to the podcast, I'm very new to darker beers, being I've only kind of just started drinking Guinness the past year. So I've been pushing to try them, and this is, it's fantastic. And I've read on the back of the can, the vanilla and the White Russian, and I am partial to a White Russian after watching The Big Lebowski. I was like, I'm going to start getting, and occasionally we'll have a White Russian, but I'm a big fan of the milkier cocktails out there, the pina coladas, and this is right up my street.
The White Russian on the label actually refers to one of our previous Project 7 releases. So the beer itself is a re-release of two of our old beers, one of them being an Affogato Stout and the other one being White Russian, which is a white milk stout. So we sort of combined the two into White Affogato, and people went absolutely mad for White Russian. We sold out of it. We couldn't hold on to it, and then we found like an extra 2 boxes in the back of the shop one time, and people went absolutely nuts for that as well. So it's a fantastic opportunity to sort of bring some of those elements of that beer back to life, but paired with the coffee from Affogato, and we're collaborating with Common Coffee, a local coffee roaster, who supplied the coffee for that brew, and also supply the coffee on sale as well, which is very nice.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm kind of jealous. At my job, we just get Tesco's own and some bourbons. But yeah,
we've thankfully got a pizza restaurant on site, so we've got a Gosney pizza oven, make our own dough in-house, fully hand-stretched pizzas. So you can get them when you're on shift. We've got Common Coffee, and we've got about 20 odd taps at Stewart Brewing beer as well. So
it's fine. You've sold it. I'll come work for you guys. It's the
absolutely come visit.
So Nathan, this is intriguing me. Of where did Project 7 come from? Where was it born out of, and what's the because this is obviously your baby, right?
So I think it came out in around 2018, I'm one of 2 head brewers at Stewart Brewing site. I run the small brewery on site, essentially. So the other brewer, Coast Scotland, I think it was one of his passions. Well, everyone's a massive beer nerd at Stewart Brewing. Let's not get that wrong. I think he wanted to maybe showcase some of the talents, his talents and other people that are working under him at Stewart Brewing, and essentially create a line for the brewery that is more brewer-led than it is anything else. So the beers are wacky, they are wild, they are one release only. That's one of the reasons it's called Project 7, is because it goes into Tank 7, so there's only 5,000 litres of it in existence ever, and we do 7 of them a year, so it's essentially a small batch run, single release limited edition, and it's just a chance to showcase our more creative side and hop on trends, try new things, experiment, and just make some fun beers.
I mean, it certainly sounds like it from the repertoire that we've got and we've tasted. I mean, I want to circle in on the Kveik, the IPA, because that thing was absolutely outrageously good. Honestly, one of the best IPAs I've had this year. So how did that happen? How did you come up with that beer?
So it's honestly a re-release of a previous Project 7 beer. So we've played around with Quebec yeast before. It's a certain favourite of one of our brewers on site. And there was a bit of a trend for it a few years ago. Everyone was sort of playing with it. So the brewer never really let that die. So he's had a few packets of Quebec stashed away and brings them out occasionally. So for this one, we essentially just wanted to make it more than it ever was before. So we really, really drove the fermentation really aggressively, fermented it above 30 degrees, like 35 odd degrees, really stressing the yeast out, really encouraging all the ester formation you get with that kind of yeast stress. Then we put Mandarina Bavaria in it as well for yet more orange. And then we added a dry hop of orange zest for yet more orange. So what you get is like just pure marmalade IPA in a glass. It's a really fantastic, super orangey expression of the yeast and what we can
something Paddington would be proud of by the sounds of it.
Yeah, exactly.
If Paddington was old enough to drink beer, he'd be all over this. And it certainly feels like, from what you were describing and how it came across when I was tasting it, a real love letter to the Kveik, kind of those sacks that you had left, because it was phenomenal. And I think now that you've kind of built that picture, that context for me, it's because actually I was feeling very nostalgic, because you're right, I'd had a lot of Kveik a few years ago, and then it seems to have gone out of trend, but this was the right time to come back, because it's a little bit hit of nostalgia actually for me when I was drinking it, and just because of how you put it together, as you said, it was pretty different from what I've had before, and it was just delicious.
Trying to showcase the best of that yeast, bring something back, but also introduce something new to it, and just really capitalize on that orangey character that it does so well. Like, yeah, let it shine in its element. Let it ferment at a stupidly high temperature. Let it do its thing.
And so I think nicely kind of talks us on to, I think kind of, I wanted to talk about Oktoberfest basically, and I was trying to rack my heads for a really nice, smooth segue into it, and I messed it all up. So, Bobs, what are you thinking of the Oktoberfest?
On it in editing. Really nice beer, actually. And, I think my opinion of the kind of beer has actually been a little bit diluted recently, because there's a few pubs in my neck of the woods that have gone, we've got a fest beer from somewhere, and actually I think they've got, or we've got numerous, and actually they've just stocked up with Paulaner or something like that, and that was their many options basically. But it's one that it's nice to see. I mean, it probably fits in really nicely with the Project 7 range. To my knowledge, there's not loads of people out there doing a beer like this. Well, at least from what I've seen. But this is lovely. Like, it's just got that little bit more going on. You can see a little bit. The color, I think, is really interesting. You can see. Sorry for listeners, of course, that's a little bit more difficult. But it's just got that kind of deeper, slightly more amber than kind of the pales that you had before. But was it a particular inspiration behind this, Nathan, or was it just something that was close to the heart? You said this time of year, it's the sort of thing you go for.
Yeah, So it's something we've done for 3 years in a row now. Craig Scotland, the head brewer, and Steve Stewart, the owner, their love for German beers is extremely evident in the way they brew lagers, and Oktoberfest, it's just part of that. You mentioned the colour, you mentioned it's got a bit more going on, so we call it a Festbier sort of Märzen. So it is leaning into more of that vintage style of Festbiers rather than the more modern pale style.
A bit fuller bodies and a little bit darker.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we paired that with a really nice hop profile. I believe we're using Perla and a little bit of Lebelski at the moment as well to give it sort of those lovely classic noble aromas. And then a reasonable, it's a really nice balance for me of sweetness and bitterness as well. So it's just hitting, for me, all of those autumnal Festbier lagery notes, and there's no real particular inspiration behind it. We're not trying to copy anyone else. It's just we're using German lager malt, German hops, doing it right.
That's why you said about the balance, because I think that's why it appeals to me in particular. Like there is a sweetness, but it's quite gentle, not necessarily smacking you around the face, which is goes down really well with me. But it's barely been open 5 minutes, and I'm ready to go on the next one. But
we're wanting to serve it in steins in the tap room and try and convince the chef to do a currywurst pizza alongside of it as well. Which I was
going to say, you need some proper strand to go with it.
You just need to dress some of the guys up in lederhosen as well, and we'll have the whole
experience. I'm sure you can bring an umpire band in as well, and just really ham it home.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a really fun beer. I think does what it says in the tin in terms of hitting the style notes on the head, in my opinion. And just really, we brewed it really properly as well. We let it mature for a good few months. There's no shortcuts taken on it, so it's a genuine Reinheitsgebot lager.
It's the real McCoy,
yeah.
Well, it also struck me as it sounds very genuine. It's a Stewart Brewing, this your pilot Project 7, I should say, from your Pilot Brewery, but it feels very German in product, like taste wise. It's very much you guys, but also by can design as well. Like you're leaning heavily into how it looks. It looks great, by the way. I think it's obviously got that Bavarian flag-esque inspiration.
Something we should mention about Project 7 as well, that every single release we choose a new artist to support. We get them to design the cans, and they get to create a design, get it printed, and get it branded up, and that's their beer, essentially. So we have our core range, of course, which has the sort of tartan designs. I don't know if you guys have seen Stewart Brewing cans before. But they all essentially have a very consistent branding across the whole range, whether you're buying like a lager or a Radical Road or a Stewart's 80. There's the same theme of this tartan, just different colours. So Project 7 is not only a chance for us to show a different side of our brewery, we're also supporting different local artists as well, and just doing something a bit different, not only in terms of the beer, but in the product design as well. The Oktoberfest is probably one of our most subtle designs when it comes to Project 7. We've got some really fantastic other designs in the pipeline. I'm really excited about one of our upcoming beers as well, Mississippi Mud Pie. That's coming out soon.
Oh, nice.
What pray tell is Mississippi Mud Pie?
Exactly what it sounds like, a big chocolatey, rich dessert stout.
That is where that was where I jumped to. Sounds quite decadent.
Exactly, that's what we're going for. It'll be a really nice counterpart to White Affogato. So it'll be completely other end of the spectrum, as in super dark, super stouty, super chocolatey, super lactosey.
Yeah. Can I ask, just on the Project 7 beers, can I ask about Thal Be Back?
Yeah, absolutely. So that one... So, you heard of Hop and Lock from WHC? So that was one of our experiments with that. It was, can we make a Pilsner, but absolutely stylize it to, hell and back. So chucked in loads of Cascade as first wort hops, loads of Cascade as a dry hop during fermentation, just maximizing the finalization potential. And what you get out is a beer that is, it's branded as a Pilsner, but it's like no Pilsner you'll ever taste. It's super, to me at least, it's super wine-like, like crushed Sauvignon Blanc grapes, super tropical, really, really, really fun beer.
Yeah, it's the thiolizing that if I hear used in conversation, I can normally nod on and go, yeah, of course. But if anyone actually ever asked me to explain it in much more detail, I tend to struggle. So it's very good we had you on, basically, to talk about the result.
Thiols are essentially compounds that are bound inside hops and malts. They are expressed particularly well in certain wines due to the way they are fermented. And thiolization is essentially just a release of bound thiols. So hop unlock is a yeast that encourages those thiolization reactions and biotransformation reactions during fermentation, allows those flavors that would otherwise not come out of the hops to emerge and just show a different side. Because when we say like Cascade dry hopped, it paints a certain picture. And I'll Be Back tastes like no other Cascade beer, essentially.
Oh, that sounds incredible. And actually, as you said, doing something, people would re-explore that, what they think they know about that level of hop to something, and it would be paired with something completely different. That sounds fascinating.
It's a really, really fun beer. We've also got Juicy, which we brewed in collaboration with Fierce, which is
I was going to ask about
Pilot IPA, which is the obvious use of finalization. When you chuck in loads of hops into a beer, make it an IPA, then finalize it. So that has a very similar winey, grapey, musty in like a grape must kind of way, not in a bad must kind of way. That kind of character to it, but paired with all of those big, soft New England IPA kind of hop character. So it's juicy, for lack of a better term. That's why we called it that. And we brewed that with Fierce.
On the tin.
And Fierce are fantastic at brewing New England IPAs as well. They're fantastic hop brewers, so it was really fun to work with them.
I was going to say that sounds fantastic. We spoke to Fierce a month or so back, and they sent us some of their beers, and we tried some of those. So if you guys are combining, that sounds absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we try to do collabs every year. But we did one with Fierce this year. We've also got Voss is part of a Brewdog collab with Brewdog Castlegate, I believe, one of their pubs. And we've got upcoming collabs with 71 Brewing from Dundee and Brewtune as well. So we will be working on some fun beers with them as well when they come and visit us. So we also do cast specials. So as well as Project 7, a huge proportion of our beer goes into cask. We are still super into cask at Stewart. I think it's like 32% of our output goes into cask. And so we do cask specials every month as well. So we were working with some breweries for that, like Ossett Brewery, who are also mad about cask. And it's just really fun to connect with different parts of the brewing world and to get different ideas in and get different beers brewed.
Sounds like a huge spectrum of different types of beer that you guys are working on. I mean, you mentioned that you're just alone in your brewery, you've got 20 taps there, but it sounds like, going back to Project 7, that sounds like an amazing vehicle for these kind of collabs am I right in saying in can form primarily, and then the cask business is part of the bigger Stewart Brewing.
So we put Project 7 into cask and into keg and into can. So if you we primarily distribute locally, which is probably our greatest strength and our biggest downfall. So all of our beer is more or less located in the Central Belt, as far south as Newcastle, maybe as far north as Aberdeen. So whatever you're getting, it's going to be dead fresh. But you have to be in that kind of area to get it. We don't really sell to any wholesalers yet. So unfortunately, I doubt a cask of White Russian White Affogato will be making its way down south to you guys anytime soon.
That is a big shame, I'm not going to lie. It would be...
Our beers absolutely shine in keg and cask as well. it's a huge part of what we do, and we do it really well. Like, all of our beers are unfiltered, unpasteurized, and putting it into a cask in a fantastic pub in Edinburgh, Glasgow, in anywhere that does cask beer really well, it's a really fantastic experience. And I think it's really at the heart of our brewery.
Nathan, I'm already excited to be up in Edinburgh in December for a wedding, but you've just made me even more excited for the potential of actually having some of your beers.
Please come visit us. Like I said, we've got a fantastic site at the brewery. We're open Wednesday through Sunday for pizzas and beers. We've got 2 cask taps on site. There's numerous pubs throughout town that will all serve our beer very well. And yeah, everyone's welcome.
So I think you kind of mentioned there about kind of being very good in the local area. Is there kind of plans or kind of have like distribution kind of move outside and kind of like extend that reach and get these fantastic Stewart Brewing, especially the Project 7 beers, to the wider public?
The Project 7 beers are available to everyone through our website. You can easily buy a 12-pack or more, if you so desire, from our website, and we'll ship across the UK. Beyond that, getting the kegs and casks out, that's something we'd have to look at to see what our distribution was like and what wholesalers we could work with. And I think it is in the works, but it just depends on how these talks go. That's not my area.
I think for the main thing our listeners need to come across is the fact that they can get your beers in can form all across the country, and that's what I'm really loving to coming out of this conversation, because I was, after having these beers and taste them, I wanted more. You know, and all those ones that you were just talking about there sound incredible. Like, you know, I've definitely been trying to look up the Fierce beers.
Have you guys come across our stuff in supermarkets before?
So I was thinking about this, and I'm pretty sure I've brought some stuff in Lidl when I've been doing my shopping, and I've tried some Stewart Brewing then, and I think that's where it kind of jogged my memory a bit when we were when the box came through and the logo and everything like that. I was like, I've definitely tried some of this stuff before, and I remember going back and buying it a few times as well.
Do you remember any of the particular beers, or did you have any impressions?
I'm gonna have to hold my hands up, and I can't remember what I brought, but I can remember that I brought that I brought it a couple of times. I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, I think we do a lot of fantastic beers. Like, obviously, Project 7 is not the bulk of our releases. A huge amount of our stuff goes into pubs and supermarkets as part of our core range, and I think a big part about Project 7 is trying to dismantle and change those impressions that people have about Stewart Brewing. It's like, up here at least, people know us for making 80 shilling, which is like such a classic style, and we do it very well, but it's extremely far removed from something like Fellby Back, which is experimental yeast, massive biotransformations, really nerdy brewing stuff. And I think it's important that people see that we're capable of doing both. Like, there's a beer for everyone at Stewart's, whether you are an 80 shilling drinker or a Fellby Back drinker. You know, we've got you covered.
I think it's such a good point that you can, and for us who are kind of, I guess, further down south, kind of being introduced to Stewart Brewing outside of the supermarkets, and if your first impression, as it is mine, being Project 7, I would think that you guys make these incredible beers, and if you happen to put stuff on shelves in supermarkets, I'd be willing to pick it up, because I already know you do fantastic stuff with Project 7. So I think it's interesting that you're mentioning that there's not, you know, this different platforms and different conversations you're basically having and trying to have with people. And I think people who know Stewart Brewing so well through the supermarkets, you're having that conversation through Project 7 to try and change the perceptions of it. Whereas for the rest of us who are probably getting into Stewart Brewing from, you know, directly through your site, probably are going to be drawn into Project 7 no matter what, because it's you know, it's really appealing looking, and the beers that you've got on offer look.
I think exciting. For the beer enthusiasts, Project 7 is absolutely where they should look. The 7 fantastic releases a year, all small batch. You'll never get them twice unless we re-release it in a slightly different form. They're all brewed, you know, to an extremely high standard. And yeah, I mean, that's exactly where people should look. But beyond that, I think our core range is also really good. Like, Radical Road continues to win awards all the time. New Relic continues to win awards year after year. We we make a fantastic core range of beers as well. And just getting that word out and getting it to more people, I think, is what we're trying to do at the moment. We're trying to expand our reach beyond the Central Belt and get people drinking Stewart Brewing beer.
Actually, no, I was going
no matter where you are.
I was going to ask along the core beers, or the classic range. Sorry, we use the right terms. Is there one you've got a real soft spot for? And I realise that's obviously a difficult question, but I thought I'd ask.
We do a tap tasting every week on site. It's a massive chore where we have to taste 22 different beers every week.
That was like agony.
Making sure they're all tasting exceptional every week. And the standout beers, in my opinion, are often Radical Road, which is our West Coast triple hopped IPA, 6.4%. It's a little bit vintage at this point, in terms of it's that old school West Coast IPA that everyone used to go nuts about, but it still really blows me away every time I drink it. It's just so hoppy, so dank, so resinous, and has such a fantastic hop character that it's really hard to drink anything else.
That's a ringing endorsement, that is.
Yeah.
Beyond that, New Relic is our Mosaic hopped IPA, which is, done to death like everything is. But in terms of Mosaic dominant beers, I think it's up there for me. It really, really is a fantastic expression of the hop. We've got really great hop guns on site, so we get a lot of fantastic extraction out of the hops. We use Yakima Chief hops, best of the best, and it's just really showcasing those hops.
So was that Yakima, did you say?
Yakima Chief, yeah. Yakima Chief Mosaic.
Yeah, real soft spot for those.
Yeah, and we do a variety of traditional styles as well. We've got like Stewart's 80, which is our 80 shilling, classic Scottish style that we've brewed for years and years and years, taken on. There's a particular pub in Edinburgh called the Diggers, or Athletic Arms, depending on who you ask, which is a bit of a legend. Like, my dad used to drink there back in the 70s and 80s, so it tells you how long it's been going. It was famous back then, and they used to serve 80 shilling. And my dad said when you walked in the door, the pub would be so packed you could not move, and you'd hold up your hand towards the barman, and the number of fingers you held up was the number of pints of 80 shilling you wanted. So the deal was, if you got to the bar before they were ready, they were free. So you had to shuffle through all the customers and get to the bar and see if you could get your free pints of 80 shilling. And eventually the supplier of 80 shilling stopped producing due to numerous reasons. So the proprietor of Diggers went along to Steve Stewart and was like, can you make me some 80 shilling? So we did, and now it's one of our best sellers. It's absolutely fantastic beer. It's a really key part of our range, and I don't know if you guys have had the style before. It's not a style that really exists outside of the Central Belt in my experience. Like, you see a few people talking about Scottish beers outside of Scotland, but it's just so good on cask. I don't think there's, as much as I'm into all of these really nerdy firelized beers, the triple hopped American IPAs, the double IPAs, New England IPAs, lactose beers, whatever. If you put a pint of 80 shilling in front of me from a cask, I'm not sure there's much better.
I'm so excited because it's going to be on my. I've written a list now of things I'm going to come up and 80 shilling or 80 bob as it's affectionately known as.
Yeah, exactly.
On Google is high on the list of places that beers that I want to try.
Yeah, absolutely. Visit the Diggers. It's still one of my favourite pubs to this day. We serve it on site as well. We've recently released it nitrogenated as well, so it's Nitro 80. So we've got 2 Nitro beers on site as well, Nitro 80 and Edinburgh Black, which is our dry Nitro Stout. So they're both pretty good as well.
Have you, the old faithful of 80 shillings, are they happy with the Nitro version? Have you had some feedback on that?
it does pretty well because it's now one of our sort of mainstay taps versus 80 shilling being like a rotational sort of thing. It's like, whilst there's 18 taps, keg taps on site, those 18 taps change every week or so, depending on what we've got in stock and what I can produce. And the opportunity to have 80 shilling always on, I think, is pretty important for us because it's such a key part of our story and our history and a key part of what people want to drink as well. So, yeah, it does pretty well. You get a fantastic cascade on it. You get that big, classic, creamy nitro head on it, and it's just that super smooth, gentle, malty experience that you want out of a pint of 80 shilling.
That sounds delightful. I can't wait to try it. Literally even more excited. I mean, I might even not go to this wedding anymore. I might just come up and just park myself out, you know.
Don't go thinking you've got a chance of getting to that bar before they're ready, Joe. I know no, I can do this, but it won't happen, mate.
Yeah. It's fine. I'll come with my like 4 fingers up. I want fours of 80 shillings, you know.
And start sprinting.
Yeah.
Where are you going to find 3 mates from in Edinburgh?
Oh, there we go.
Drabbers and I aren't coming. What's
Oh, well, Nathan, this is amazing to hear from all the details of what you're doing at Project 7 and with Stewart Brewing, and also to touch on just all the heritage and kind of where your kind of mainstays are. Honestly, very excited to get more involved in trying Stewart Brewing. As I said, it hasn't really come down from where you are too far, but knowing that we can get these beers direct through the shop. And the web shop is just perfect. So I guess just encourage listeners to go to stewartbrewing.co.uk and just check out some of these beers, especially the Project 7. But obviously you've got the core beers.
Exactly. Like I said, I think there's a beer there for everyone, whether you're a lager drinker, an 80 shilling drinker, or a firelized Pilsner drinker. I think we've got a beer there for most people. And whether it's Project 7 or whether it's our core range, I just encourage everyone to give us a shot because we make fantastic beer. We're really small, really craft still. Even though we're in the supermarkets, we still, produce everything by hand using the best ingredients we can get with a lot of love and care. And I think people deserve to have a taste of it.
Well, thank you again, Nathan, for jumping on and sharing all this wisdom with us. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. That was fantastic. And I keep up the good work. Yeah. Beer's fantastic.
So,
100%.
Are you guys looking forward to anything in particular in our upcoming Project 7 series? We've got the White Affogato. We've got the White Affogato potentially in some ex-whiskey casks.
Oh, okay.
Maybe released at some point. We've got the collabs with 71 Brewing. We've got the collab with Brewtoon. We're doing potentially some Radlers next year as well. For summer.
A Radler. I'm a big fan. Sorry, you said Radler. I'm a big fan of a Radler.
Yeah, something I'm working on.
Yeah.
Doing a Hefeweizen version and a lager version.
Oh, yes. No, yeah. Big fan. We used to drink, when I worked in Spain, we used to drink Radlers all the time. And that's 100% my go-to.
Because you're an athlete at the end of the day. So.
100%. My body is a temple. And it's...
but no, it's something to the Brewtoon collaboration. That would be interesting. I mean, actually, because it's one I've only from 1 or 2 of theirs, but enjoyed them very much. So actually, that's the bit where my ears started to prick up, I think.
Yeah, they're a really fantastic brewery. And I think something that Stewart does really well is our connections as well. A lot of people within the Scottish craft beer industry have worked at Stewart at some point. Steve Stewart knows them all personally. And it's just really important that we support and encourage the local brewing community because it is such a fantastic community in Edinburgh and in Scotland. And there's just so many people making such fantastic beer.
And that's all we have time for in this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber, and Simo,
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
I'll try that podcast.com,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.